Hello, Exiles. I'm back pretty soon, and for good reason. I've finally gotten the build to what we'll call like the more easily accessed endgame, where it's like the build is strong enough to do most content pretty well. I went ahead and I just got a couple breach stones together for the video, ran a map, etc. to run in the background. I've done many bosses now. I've done Shaper, stood in the slam, went great. Very happy about that. Having a build that tanks Shaper slams, that's like how you know your physical max hit is doing all right. That's like the benchmark. And it did it. It did it just fine. At first I thought I needed my Molten Shell up, and then I realized I Fortify. Which, yeah, let's get into the build real quick, talk about how it works, just as like a refresher, and then what we're doing right now to make it pretty good. So, for starters, we're playing this with a two-hander, which is kind of atypical for Infernal Blow these days. Most people are using a one-hander or dual wielding, and they're kind of building for speed or Hollow Palm or something like that, and they're on the other side of the tree, even though it's a strength gem. We went a different route, and honestly, when I first conceptualized this build, which was leagues ago, the whole prompt was let's do a melee build that doesn't care about crit. That was the idea, and I was like, all right, I got to scale something instead of crit, and what I settled on was Ignite. This is like a hybrid damage build. You can see we have an Ignite DPS that's very sizable, and then we have the melee hits and the 6 debuff explosion stack hits, and like that's doing a pretty sizable amount of damage on its own as well. And kind of the idea of the build is, all right, we're going to be tanky, we're going to have good Ignite, we're going to be able to stand still when we need to because Chieftain necessitates it. We're going to have good damage, and honestly, after the patch 3.25, some of the most insane regen I think I've ever seen in my life. So, just as like a quick aside, we have 6 endurance charges, 1 from the Anoint now. That's kind of an update that's been made from the initial build guide ideas. We do grab Unwavering Stance, because of course we do. I don't know why I thought I was ever going to get away without that. There's just too much stuff in the game that's annoying that way. We got the Light of Meaning, which ended up being much cheaper than expected. This is one of the best things you can do early in the build, relatively speaking, where you get this and you get these nodes, and they're just hyper efficient, because they're all getting an extra 6% fire damage. That makes even these nodes really efficient, and we want this mastery, so that works out well. These mace nodes, like, part of the reason we go maces is because we can grab these, and they give us reduced enemy stun threshold, which is important for another reason. We've got Warcry nodes, we've got like crit reduction going on, we've got a little bit of life, and just all of our pathing through here. And it's a very efficient little nook in the tree that gives us a lot more than we probably should get in most scenarios. And the only other thing that would work with this would be staves, but that'd be a very different tree with very different defensive layers. Probably better for mapping, because block is just good like that, but I don't think the single target would get to where this one does. So, what have we changed? I mean, there were little things like we've moved away from these nodes to these now that we have the jewel. We've picked up a few nodes that we weren't taking before. Most of it has stayed the same. The general premise is this node is very powerful if you can make use of it, and we can. I've stunned the Shaper out of his beam already. The stun impact is there, at least on the 60 buff explosion. I'm sure we're still mini stunning, like in kind of a not so noticeable way. We want to be able to stand still, because Covered in Ash is just a very good node here. This actually is kind of losing a bit of its punch, but we want to path this way anyways because we want chance to ignite. We have to get to 100% chance to ignite, and we actually do that rather easily. You don't have to mess with tattoos, which is good because the ignite tattoos are like 100 chaos right now, but we get some nodes here. We get this node here, we get these nodes here, and we have combustion in our links, so we get everything we need to. As for what we've done to make the build a lot stronger now, that was a little more, not to toot my own horn, but creative, I want to say. So how I kind of arrived at this was I started looking into items that used to be expensive, and I was like, what if they've come down? You know, what if they're more affordable, and this is like a viable option for someone in trade to go after? And what I came up with was a plan that would give me a massive boost in DPS, for like 3 to 5 Divine Orbs, I want to say. Which I think is pretty good at this stage in the build. Like, without this, the build is still perfectly serviceable. If you have a decent weapon, you're going to be like slapping basic pinnacle bosses just fine. But this made things very comfortable. And what we went for was All's Uprising, which Anger Has No Reservation used to be a very expensive node, in my experience. It's not anymore. You can get like anywhere from less than 2 divs to, I don't know, 2 to 3, I guess, if you wanted to go for better rolls. And the reason we do that is so that we have, well, Anger. Anger itself is kind of a terrible aura. I'm going to be honest. I think it's one of the worst ones in the game. maybe the worst one in the game. I don't know who wants that. I think Wrath is better for flat damage in like every situation, and then yeah, it's not that much fire damage for spells on a big reservation, but what is good with Anger are the Watcher's Eye mods. Even for this build, who has some interesting damage requirements, and getting these two mods together, which would be like our ideal damage mods, more increased fire damage and more extra physical damage as fire, was cheap. Shockingly cheap. As you can see, like less than a div, 1 div, 2 div, 3 div, sure, but yeah, it's really not that bad. You can get this for rather cheap, and I mean that'll probably go up in price if there's anyone actually playing this build watching this video, but these were not that expensive, and there's even a little bit of room for growth because I could easily fit, well, I have the gem slots open to fit a Vitality or a Precision at level 1 if I wanted, and I could go for like attack speed on Precision or life recovery rate on Vitality and get even more throughput there. So that's a really nice change that I really wanted to get out in a video, because the build has kind of reached a point now where it's a little It's a little it's a little indistinguishable from playing Kitava's Thirst last league. Kitava's Thirst was a faster mapper, sure, but this has a bit more punch in the map, where a single hit will take out most rares, where it's just like, actually they're just gone. Like the Ignite doesn't even get to play, just the corpse explosions from everything around them gets it done. And it does that a little faster because it's instantaneous. It doesn't move quite as quickly, we don't have shield charge, but the single target max hit is higher, and this build still has a lot of room to grow. So my anticipation is that before long, I'm going to be taking this into content that my other build probably wasn't quite so comfortable with, because I have a lot of places I can go, and I still have, I want to say, at least 2 levels before I feel comfortable like saying the build is done leveling. This node's going to go away, and we're going to pick up a jewel socket 1 more level, and then I could even get another jewel socket on top of that, and you can get a huge amount of throughput in any area of your build through jewel sockets. I could even go for like some more max res, which might be the play a little bit, just to get to that higher breakpoint of max hit tolerance. But what we have right now is working pretty well. I have it set to... What is this? Okay. I have it set to Guardian Pinnacle, and it's looking pretty good. It can be better. It will be better. Some of my equipment still definitely needs to be changed. And there's some situations where big changes can happen, like, say, if I got that Precision Watcher's Eye attack speed mod, Mako's Embrace could probably go away in favor of just a good ring with attack speed, and I could get something with better damage on it. I could get something with, like, a big wed roll. The one I have here is, I mean, this is almost too good to even joke about, because I got very lucky on this ring, but it's a little strong already, so I don't think replacing this is realistic, but I could, if I replace this, go for like a better wed roll. My gloves are one of my oldest pieces of equipment at this point. They can definitely be changed. That fire damage over time multiplier also could be changed to attack speed on the implicits, and that would improve the feeling of it a lot, and actually, in like kind of a pseudo way, increase the single target through uptime, because you have to get to 6 hits on a boss before the big ignite happens, and that is an important thing that needs to be kept in mind with this build. The rest of my gear, my body armor, my helmet, I feel like these might be stuck. I might just be done with these, and I should start hyper investing and making them a little better, because there are things I could do to them yet that would make them better too. My weapon is very good. It can be better. It's no Alkaiser Kurui chopper, but it's pretty good. I will probably try to upgrade this at some point as well, as daunting a task as that seems. And I want to say this build is probably... Because if I had, like, the really good weapon, and I had the better gloves, and I had the perfect Watcher's Eye, and I switched out this ring, that DPS might more than double, actually. And at that point, with the survivability increases I have planned, the build, it probably does a lot. Certainly far more than I expected, certainly enough for me to say, all right, unless they nerf it, I'm going to have to make this build guide again for like another league, which I'm very excited about. That's what I wanted to see, and I honestly wasn't sure I was going to get there. There was always a part of me that was worried it was going to fall flat, and for so long I was stuck on Toa's Felling, but here it is. It's doing well. At this point, I can recommend the build. If you can get your hands on a good two-handed mace, absolutely do it. People buying my stuff. Absolutely do it. It's fun to play. It feels good. There is a little bit of gear dependency, though. I don't know that this is the best for League start in the way I've presented it across all the videos, because I would definitely make a few changes in how all of that works. Basically to make it a little more durable early on. Otherwise, yeah, no, the build's great. I'm enjoying it. We are unfortunately like hovering around the Steel Mage meme number, except we're actually at the meme number. This isn't pretend. And just as a final aside, this number is a little bit disingenuous on the low end. That is to say, it's on the low end. I don't factor in what happens when we turn on our tincture and what happens when our banner is planted. And we get a much stronger damage window during that time. This is also Guardian Pinnacle DPS, so I'm not going to apologize for anything. Yeah, I'm having a good one. I hope you are too. If you've been playing the build, I hope this this Watcher's Eye thing hits you like a truck, where you're like, I have the currency, do I go make a new build now, or is there actually something I can do? Yes, there's something you can do. Get that alls, anoint this, get your Watcher's Eye, you're going to feel tankier, you're going to have a shitload more damage. I mean, just honestly, 2 million is like when you're feeling kind of okay. 3 million is when you're like, okay, I can do stuff now. And after 4 million is when a build really kind of opens up and you're free to farm everything outside of the aspirational stuff. And I say that because in addition to everything, it's very tanky. We are regenerating like 33% of our life every second. With good max hit stats. Yeah, that gets it done. Easy to cap resistances. I don't know what else to say. Other than, have a good one, Exiles. I hope you're enjoying the league as much as I am. Hopefully I'll have another video soon on like another way to push the build a little harder without, you know, spending an exorbitant amount of money, but we probably are getting to the point where upgrades that come are going to be either very expensive or require very large build reworks. And probably they're going to be a combination of the two. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope you're having a good one. I hope everyone's builds are turning out the way they expected, and if you're playing this build, I hope if you're having trouble, you see this video because you realize actually there is hope. I don't know why you'd be having trouble, because even if it's slow, you're definitely not dying very often. And if you are dying very often, get quality on your war cries, maybe. Yeah, you need these 20% for the cooldown recovery, for uptime. I don't know if I've ever said that. Do that. Have a good one, Exiles.